Well, Ira, you have some new music out. I'm really excited to talk to you about it, but let's start at the beginning. Do you tend to describe your music as folk pop? Is it a specific genre where you describe it as maybe folk alternative even? What do you tend to describe your music as? Or maybe you, you don't even try at this point,
Oh
because it
man.
speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's the question that I never seem to be able to answer is what genre I'm in, which I think a lot of artists feel
Sure,
similarly.
of course, of
Yeah,
course.
but a lot of times I do just say folk or singer-songwriter folk. My previous work is a lot more in the more specific singer-songwriter folk Americana vein, and the new album is a little more pop, a little more indie rock. A lot bigger sounds and a little bit different production.
Well, I'm eager because you have a number of singles out at the moment. There's this house and Monster you've played live, um, but there's also Find Less and The Boat, and obviously the title track Rock Bottom is coming here shortly. But going back, when you originally started as a musician, who were some of your musical influences?
Oh man, when I very first got started, I mean, I've wanted to be a singer since before I could talk. I've always been a really, really big fan of music and knew it was what I wanted to do with my life. And the first like vocal inspiration that I ever had was Karen Carpenter. I listened to her as a kid and just was obsessed with her voice and yeah, dreamed of being able to sing like Karen Carpenter. And then as I got older and started getting a little more into writing and playing guitar, artists like Ben Gibbard and Sam Beam, Gillian Welch, Gregory Alan Isakov, um, yeah, more like songwriters are who started to inspire me as I got older and continue to.
Rock Bottom is coming out here shortly, and the title track from it is very incredibly beautiful. Talk about the message or maybe the themes that you'll be exploring here on Rock Bottom.
Sure, yeah, I mean it's a heavy album. It's definitely a breakup record. I wrote it. I mean, yeah, the title track is Rock Bottom. I wrote it at a not great place in my life. The pandemic years were hard for a lot of people, and I'm definitely not an exception to that. It really changed it really changed a lot of aspects of my life, and writing this album was kind of how I processed that. So the themes work around love and loss and grief and mental health and just trying to get through it all while still believing that it'll get better, which is kind of what rock bottom was about for me. Was this recognition that I was at the lowest point that I had ever been in my life, but that kind of offered a little bit of solace in imagining that if this was as bad as it could get, that it could only get better from there. And yeah, that's kind of kind of where it all came from.
What's your songwriting process? Do you even have a specific one at this point, or like do you have lyrics and they find you throughout the day and you write them down and then you eventually add music to them, or does a little, ditty find its way into your ear and then you write that down and sort of fit lyrics with it, or maybe you'd even have a process at this point. It just varies.
Yeah, I don't have a specific practice or like a process in terms of uh anything that's consistent. I've never been the type of writer that can sit down and tell myself I'm going to write a song and be at all productive in that way. For me, creativity is much more spontaneous, and so generally my process happens when I'm in the middle of a long drive and I'll have a lyric come into my head and I'll pull over and pull out my guitar and just start kind of singing whatever comes out. And so melodies and lyrics tend to kind of happen all at once. A lot of my songwriting doesn't feel it doesn't feel that intentional. It feels like I'm just kind of the vessel that it pours through. And so it's yeah, it's just whatever's in my subconscious that needs to work its way out, happens to do so with lyrics and melodies. And so I just kind of try to get out of the way, and that tends to be where my favorite songs come from.
How much of a hand then did you have when it came to the production side of this particular album?
Mm. You know, one of my very dear friends, Kevin Harper, he produced this record. We did it at his home studio here in Nashville, and he's a major, major part of the production of this record. I have a hard time envisioning the end result of how I want a song to be, and so I kind of we just tend to speak the same language, and so I can say, I want this emotion to come across. I like these instruments. I'll show him other songs that feel inspiring or productions that I appreciate, and he really is the one who has the biggest handle on how that all comes together. I tend to struggle in in figuring out what a song needs, and he is just a magician at it. So I definitely was present for all of the production and arrangement talks and ideas. But I definitely have to credit Kevin.
Certainly, all of these songs hold a special place in your heart on Rock Bottom. But is there one that maybe is most significant for you, or maybe even one that challenged you the most?
Hmm. Yeah, there's I don't know if it's the song that's the most significant to me, but the song that surprisingly ended up being the most challenging is one called This House. I wrote it about the house that I bought in Nashville with my ex-fiance. Um, we intended to renovate it together and just kind of have it be our little home. And then we split up, and it was a really emotional process to then live in this house by myself with all of these little memories. And I wrote a song about that, and recording it ended up being a lot harder. Performing it has been really difficult. I haven't performed it much, and it was the song on the record that we never got a full vocal take of that song. We had to split it up into sections just so that I could sing through it, because I would get through a verse and I would start crying, and we would take a break, and then I'd sing a chorus and I'd start crying, and we'd go make some tea. And it was uh it was a very emotionally challenging song, and still is. That seems to be the one that still catches me off guard a little bit. I feel like I've been able to like emotionally separate myself a little bit from a lot of these songs over time, and that's the one that still hits me.
I can only imagine what it was like for you to decompress after trying to record that song.
Yeah, thankfully, I have a really very sweet, snuggly dog that I get to come home and snuggle whenever I want to. So that really helped me get through this recording process.
And mine's being a little whiner right now. Sorry. That maybe you could have seen him like off to the side there for a second.
Got just
Just
a
just
little
a
nose.
little just a little beak. He's been tea for a bit. He's a dachshund, so he's very
Oh,
fussy.
very sweet.
But that's such a great cathartic way for you to wind down after attempt after attempt at opening your heart and sort of healing at the same time.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. This record has been such a gift in the way that it has been a very cathartic process to write and record and share it. It feels very therapeutic, and yeah, I don't know that I would have been able to work through those emotions in any other way, and I feel very grateful to have music to be able to do that.
Are you able to tease if there's any collaborations on this album, or have you held off on doing that just now and you want to put yourself forward as an artist you're in your own right?
Yeah, this one was very much a personal endeavor. I didn't bring in a lot of people on this record. I did bring in my bandmates to record, but in general, this one was really vulnerable and a little intimidating to share and and to bring other people in on. And so I was very careful about the people that I did bring in. And so I don't have any big collaborations on this record specifically. That'll be future projects. This one was something that I felt like I definitely needed to do with a very small, close-knit group of people.
Certainly very understandable since it's so raw emotionally for you. Is there something you hope, a message, an emotion that lingers with people that will be exploring rock bottom?
You know, I recently I've been talking to a lot of people about what I love about vulnerable music or about melancholy music in general. And I think that there's this sense of community that happens or of mutual understanding or connection. I think when you listen to a song that comes from someone's darkest places, it reminds you that you're not alone in yours. Um, and that's something that has helped me a lot in listening to my favorite artists, listening to a song that feels like it was written specifically for me in that moment where I feel so isolated and I feel like no one could possibly understand what I'm going through. I can listen to that song and it reminds me that I'm not alone and that someone else has felt this way and has been in this place. And that is really the most beautiful thing that I have experienced in sharing the songs from this album is talking to people about why this music touches them and how it's helped them move through their own really difficult emotions or helped them feel less isolated. And that's definitely my hope that it will continue to do that, that it will be that the sad songs will bring some sense of positivity or community or yeah, just a I know it's a sad and heavy and bitter album, and I hope that helps people process and feel their emotions in a way that they can move forward.
Live concerts are just going to need to have boxes of tissues available here and there throughout the arena or throughout the venue. So let's see who we can talk to about putting that in your writer.
Yeah. Let's get a Kleenex sponsorship for the Ira
That's
Wolf.
right.
I do
That's right.
have
Thanks, Ira Wolf, Rock Bottom, sponsored by tissues or Kleenex.
perfect.
Puffs.
I did start I have t-shirts that say Ira Wolf made me cry because I felt like I've got to capitalize on the
That's
tears. I'm
perfect.
here to
Perfect.
come to the show, feel your feelings, cry your tears, go home with a t-shirt. It's great.
I was gonna ask if there was a song on the album you are looking forward to performing live, but it sounds like all of these are gonna be emotional bangers for you.
They are. And it's, you know, this album is different from anything else that I've released. Like I said, I was very much in the singer-songwriter folk world for most of my career. And this is my first step into playing electric guitar and honestly playing loud and yelling on stage and using aspects of my voice that I didn't previously. And there's a couple songs that have been really fun to perform live. One of them is called Find Less, and it's maybe the closest that I will ever feel to a rock star is when I get to perform that song on stage because I just get to wail on an electric guitar and yell at the top of my lungs about a breakup and it's a lot of fun. It's again a very cathartic experience.
Who would you love to collaborate then with on a song in the future?
Mm, so many people. I would love, love, love to, man, spend an hour just listening to Gillian Welch write a song would be incredible. I've been really into the production style of like Phoebe Bridgers right now. I'm very intrigued in her writing and recording process. I would love to see how her brain works. Um, Noah Kahn has been a surprise, a surprise obsession for me for the last few months. Similarly, his writing and production style, I would be really intrigued to see what that looks like. And yeah, just would be thrilled to work with any of those artists. There's way too many to name. I could go on for hours about just the artists in Nashville specifically that I'd like to work with, but yeah, someday.
What would you like to say then to everyone who are fans and supporters of the beautiful music you make?
Oh my God, just thank you. I I feel like this last 6 months has been an interesting time where I feel like I'm finally getting back to pre-pandemic me a little bit, where I feel like I'm finally finding some stability and normalcy, and a lot of that has to do with music and being able to perform again and being able to meet more people and share these songs. And yeah, I just have all the gratitude in the world that people listen to my music and support my music and share my music and are moved by something that comes out of my soul. Um, it truly is an absolutely magical experience to call this a job. And so I have all the gratitude in the world for the people that make that possible for me.